All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Clark, I want to talk about the interview themselves. I have July 6th of 2018, I think it's a Friday. July 10th, 2018, which is a Tuesday. And then July 24th, 2018 is a Tuesday. And then August 2nd, 2018 is a Thursday, and June 25th, 2019. Do you have anything to write with, sir? Do you have anything to write with there or anything?
No, sir. I got paper, but what? I got one.
May I approach you to give a legal pad?
Sure. Yeah. Oop. That's not good.
All right, for defense counsel, the dates again are July 6, 2018. It's a Friday. July 10th, 2018. July 10th, 2018 is a Tuesday. July 24th, 2018, I think is a Tuesday. August 2nd, 2018, a Thursday. June 25th, 2019, which is a Tuesday. So I'm going to begin with July 6, 2018.
Okay.
Do you remember that to be meeting, I think, was it at your house with the TBI agents?
Daughter's house, but
Daughter's
that's
house.
where I was living, so yes.
What do you remember about them showing up?
I was there alone upstairs in my bedroom. Heard, I don't remember, doorbell, knock on the door, dogs barking, something. Came out, I can look down onto the foyer and I could see several people walking away down the sidewalk. So I ran down the stairs and around through the kitchen and out into the garage and opened up the big garage door and because they were out in the parking area.
And did you let them in your house to talk to you?
I did.
And did y'all have how would you describe the conversation?
Pleasant, professional, it was fine.
Did you know why they were there?
Well, not initially, but they told me.
What do you remember them asking you why, or saying why they were there?
They just said that, asked me did I know Gary and Melody Farris, and I said I did, and that they were, I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but basically that they were investigating a murder, and that Gary had been murdered, and then there was an attempt for a cover-up, and they just wanted to talk to me about my whereabouts.
What, do you remember them asking you when was the last time that you talked to Melody?
I do not remember that, but
Do you remember them asking whether it was a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, or a year ago? Do you remember that phraseology?
I think it was something like that, yes.
Do you remember saying maybe a week?
Well, I listened to the tape that you gave me, so yes.
Okay. So your answer on that day was the last time you talked to her was maybe a week.
Correct.
But you do agree with me, if you look at the calendar there, is it not true that you got July the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Tuesday the 3rd going into Wednesday the 4th. You agree with me that there were 3 main phone calls that you had with the defendant that night going into the next day?
I do.
Why didn't you tell them about those?
I don't know.
They asked you when was the last time you saw her in person. Do you remember what your answer was?
I do not.
if it was last summer or last year, do you remember saying that?
I do not remember what I said. No, sir.
Let me ask you today, going back on that, there at your house on July 6, 2018, when was the last time you physically saw the defendant?
I do not recall.
You have any idea? I know you're saying you don't recall, but do you have any idea?
No, sir. But you do, so you can tell me.
You said you listened to the recording. Do you remember after they told you Gary had been murdered and they were asking you questions about Melody? Do you remember pausing for quite some time and then saying, I don't know what I should be telling you?
I remember hearing that.
So you wouldn't dispute if you heard yourself say that you did do that?
I wouldn't dispute anything that there's a recording of.
Why did you say, I don't know what I should be telling you? Why did you hesitate to tell law enforcement about the defendant?
I'm being interviewed by the TBI for a murder that I know nothing about. You don't say nothing.
Did you do the murder?
No, sir.
Where were you in July 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 2018?
You should have a copy of that chart that I made that tells, and I have a copy of it, but I don't have it with me.
I just want you to tell the jury where
I
were
was
you
in,
at.
Tullahoma, my area.
Law enforcement got receipts and your phone records and
Yes.
showed you were not in Georgia, correct?
Correct. Even grocery receipts.
I think a video showing you getting groceries or something.
Sir?
A video showing you getting groceries?
Detective Hayes knows what my pasta salad recipe is now.
So if you didn't have anything to do with the actual murder, again, what would hesitate you to tell them what you did know?
If you don't know what you're talking about, keep your mouth shut.
But we've already established that you talked to the defendant over the 3rd and 4th for 3 phone calls, right?
Yes.
One of those was about 2 o'clock in the morning?
I think approximately. I don't know exactly.
Why did you give the defendant a credit card?
Because occasionally she said Gary would cut the credit cards off, and I didn't want her to just be stranded and not be able to, get gas or something to eat.
In 2018, in July, when they talked to you, were you still in a relationship with the defendant?
Yes.
Still sexual in nature?
Yes. But at that point, we had not seen each other in quite some time. This thing is echoing.
It's okay. But you were still having the affair, still ongoing.
We were still talking.
I think we argue over words. You were still in the same relationship you had been with her, right?
Just not physical.
She had your credit card?
She did.
Still talking every day, sometimes twice a day?
Yes.
And, pardon me, but during those conversations, y'all would talk about sex and everything else?
That's true.
Sounds like a relationship, right?
Not arguing that. No, I'm not trying to. Yeah.
How much did the defendant like to clean?
A lot.
Is she a neat freak?
Yes.
Do you remember one of her friends by the name of Sherry?
Yes.
Did she spell her name differently?
Yes.
How did Sherry spell her name?
Don't know. I just remember that it was different.
It was different than normally spelled.
Yes.
Who was Sherry? Who is Sherry?
Just a friend of hers. I don't really know where Sherry came into the picture at or even where she lived.
Did Sherry go to Emily's wedding?
Yes.
How close of friends were the defendant and Sherry?
At the time, pretty close.
Do you know how they would spend their time together?
No, not really. I mean, I know they spent time together, but I don't know what all they would do.
Did you go to Jamaica with the defendant?
I did.
When was that?
September of 17,
How long did y'all go?
about a week.
Where'd y'all go? What, do you remember the name of the resort?
Hito.
Excuse me?
Hito.
Hito? And do you know if the defendant has Sherry do anything with a credit card?
No, I don't know that.
What did she tell her children where she was at?
I don't know. Like I said, she could come and go as she pleased, so I don't, that was,
She could even go to Jamaica for 10 days or so and not question her whereabouts?
I'm assuming.
But you don't know what she said to her children? Again, I'm sorry, you're going to have to say yes or no.
I'm sorry. No.
I can see you, but for the
I'm
record.
sorry.
That's all right.
No, I do not know what she said to them.
But it was it a special occasion that y'all went to Jamaica?
It might have been my birthday.
Who paid for it?
I did.
All right. July 10th, I'm going to move to that. So the next interview, July 10th of 2018. This is with the Sheriff's Office, Hayes and Pope, for the first time.
Okay.
When they came up and you met at the office, how did it start out?
I do not recall.
Do you remember reaching out to them through your attorney that you wanted to talk?
Do I remember reaching out to my attorney that?
Did y'all initiate the conversation with law enforcement?
I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Who asked who to come and talk? Did y'all ask the Sheriff's Office to come and talk?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was because you wanted to correct some lies that you said or deception?
Phone number.
Tell the jury about that.
Whatever phone number I had given, one of the phone numbers that I had given was incorrect, and I called Bobby Carter, my attorney, and told him, I said, I think I've got the right phone number, and I think he actually called and gave it to the TBI agent, and then they came up at that point, and then to meet us.
And it was during this interview that you finally told them about the other phone?
I'm assuming. I don't.
Did the defendant tell you that Gary had moved out for quite some time? That they had separated and he moved out?
I think that was like years before. I don't know any details on that at all.
When it came to what you knew of...
You're asking, did Melody move out? Or did
No,
Gary
did Melody tell you that Gary had moved out of the home?
I do not remember that at all. No, sir.
When it came to the control of finances between the defendant and Gary, who controlled the finances?
According to her, Gary did.
And to what degree did he, according to her, control the finances?
100%.
But was she able to buy things or have things?
Anything she wanted.
Do you know why he controlled the money?
I do not.
Did you know about Ted Wiley?
I did.
She never said that Gary had ever abused her or physically done anything to her?
No.
Do you remember Sergeant Pope kind of giving you at one point during the interview on the 10th, he starts talking to you about goodwill and vibes, or good vibes. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Do you remember anything where Sergeant Pope kind of kicked it up a gear to try to get you to give more information?
I remember that he did that. I don't remember specifically when.
And do you know why he was doing that? What was it that you were doing that made him start pushing you more?
I have no idea.
Do you remember Elizabeth Williams from the TBI? You were asked the question, who bought the defendant's other phone? I call burner, you say other. Should they press you on, did you buy that phone? Do you remember your initial response?
I do not.
Do you remember admitting that you did buy the phone for her?
I do not.
Now, on July 10th, you haven't mentioned anything about the burn pile. Is that correct?
I don't know the time frame as to what was said when on that. I do not.
On July 10th, do you remember telling law enforcement that the last communication, not in person, but by text, that you had with the defendant was on July 5th when they were looking for Gary?
Yes.
Do you remember what that text was?
I think that's what it was. We're looking for Gary.
And respond ASAP?
You have it. I don't. I just remember it.
No reason to disagree if that was the message.
No.
So the last time that you say that you talked to her was by that text on the 5th, the morning of the 5th, right?
Yes.
So you might just have one. The second one, yeah. We'll get you the page. All right. At one point, law enforcement asked you when Gary was on the 10th, when Gary had been murdered, they asked you about a motive, and they asked you who has the most to gain out of this. Who did you say had the most to gain out of the death of Gary?
I don't recall.
In that context, they were asked about Chad Bruce. And do you remember telling law enforcement that Melody loves him to death?
I don't remember it, but you
Well,
obviously.
let me ask you independently. How does the defendant feel about Chad Bruce?
I think at the time she did.
Was Amanda's fiance at the time?
I don't know if they were engaged then or not.
But you know who that is, right?
Yes,
And you know who Amanda is?
I do.
And they're married now?
Yes.
And during this process, after the defendant was arrested, you met with Amanda quite some times, right?
They came up and got stuff from Martha out of the car. Yeah,
Talked to her on the phone or by text message?
I'm assuming. Yeah.
Chad also?
Yes.
You don't remember who bought the burner phone, the second phone? You don't remember whether or not you told law enforcement you did or didn't?
You've lost me.
Okay.
Start
You
again.
the second phone that Melody had, the question was asked, who bought it? Do you remember what your answer was?
I do not.
Judge, may I approach the witness to refresh his recollection?
If you prefer, Jeff, you can have my copy of it.
So let's see if you can see the screen there.
What am I looking at?
All right. Talking about the phone, you read that line there.
This one, my words
Yep.
says
Just read it to yourself, and then I'll ask you.
I will say yes. I
Read,
bought.
I'm sorry, read to yourself. It's just a legal rule. Just read it to yourself.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection of what your answer was, who bought the second phone of hers?
I'm assuming that's what I said. So.
All right. The way the rule works is they show you or is that better? They either show you or play you your statement.
Yes, sir.
All right. The question is, does that refresh your recollection? Does that make it come back to you anew that that's what your conversation was? If your answer is yes, then you can say, yes, I remember, and that's what I said. If it doesn't refresh your memory as to what you said, then you say, no, that does not refresh my memory as to what was said. All right.
Now, here's my question again. Who bought her second phone?
I do not know.
Just move that one. It is 42 minutes and 27 seconds. How much money did the defendant know that Gary would have in his ATM or bank account at times, like a month?
It varied.
And how much would he have?
I mean, it could be anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s.
Was there times that there would be $40,000 deposited in the account, and then the next day most of it would be Gary would move it to something else,
That sounds familiar. Yes.
and that he would have $500,000 to $600,000 a year that he would make?
Yes.
All right, I want to turn now to July 24th, 2018. Law enforcement comes back and meets with you again. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that because your attorney and you want to clarify something?
I do not recall that.
When they met with you, where did y'all meet again? Was it Bobby's office?
Yes, sir.
And that was about 2 to 3 hour meeting with them. Does that sound about right?
I do not know.
Do you remember at some point that during the meeting that you had to take a break with Bobby and go out and do some more talking?
Yes.
And that was because they were pressing you with information. Is that right?
Correct.
Pope didn't believe that you were telling him everything, and Hayes didn't believe that you were giving him all the information about those phone calls on the 3rd or the early morning of the 4th around 2 a.m., right?
Right.
They didn't believe that you were telling them everything that was said on those phone calls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they were pushing you to give more information.
Yes.
And because of that, you had to go stop and go talk to your attorney because you did have more information that you ended up telling them, right?
I stopped to go talk to my attorney because I was flipping out.
Okay. And after talking to the attorney, you did come back in and give them more information. Is that correct?
I came back in and told them something, yes.
I mean, you walked back in, right?
I did.
You opened your mouth and you told them the words, correct?
I did.
They didn't have to pull it out of you. You actually said what was going on.
Well, that's a matter of opinion as to pull it out of me when you are threatened the way I was.
And in your presence, Bobby, you were explaining that you were loyal to the defendant, correct?
I do not remember saying that, but
But you were there when your attorney was talking. Is that true?
Yes.
Right before.
Well, I think he talked to them without me, but no, I could not swear to that one for
Okay.
sure. But I think they talked some without me.
At some point, though, you come back in, and it's you sitting there with your attorney, Detective Hayes is there, and Sergeant Pope's there. Is that true?
That's correct.
And now you're ready to come back and give them more information that you had not told them, right?
I'm ready to walk in and tell them something.
And you're going to tell them about a conversation that you had with the defendant on July 4th around 2 or 2:30 in the morning. Is that correct?
Correct.
In fact, you said it was the last part of the last conversation in that night. Is that right?
That's right.
And it was about Gary being in the burn pile.
That's what I said.
Tell the jury what you said the defendant told you during that conversation on July 4th, 2018.
I said that she said that, this is not going to be word for word, but that she said that Gary was on the burn pile, and I said, what? And she said Gary was on the burn pile, and I said, don't say nothing else to me. Something like that.
Would it refresh your recollection to, you can't remember the exact words?
No, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at something to see if it does?
You're welcome to show it to me.
Here's my approach. Let me tell you, it's 1 hour, 31 minutes.
Okay, and then they're going.
That's up, just right. Here's a transcript of the recording. Now, here's the rule. I'm going to hand it to you where it says R. Barton. Read it to yourself. I know. Read it to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. Don't read it aloud.
Go ahead. You go ahead and read it. What is the recording from?
The recording is July 24th, 2018.
Interview?
It's an interview with the TBI and the Sheriff's Office.
All right, so this is a...
Transcript of that.
That's where I'm going. Who prepared it?
We had a contract for the office prepared.
Y'all paid someone to do it.
Yes, and Judge, what I would also, if
It is a transcription.
It is not.
I have called it an interpolation. It is not a transcript. It is not a court transcript. It is not done by deposition, sworn under oath, in court, anything of that nature. Correct?
Yes,
So when y'all, so I'm just saying, so when they refer, they're going to refer to it as a transcript because that's what they're used to calling things, where people take down what people say and spit it out in a written format. But it is not a transcript to the extent that it is a deposition or certified court testimony. This is what someone who was paid to listen to the recording typed out and prepared and gave to the district attorney's office. All right.
does that refresh your recollection?
Somewhat.
Just this time, if I can have the jury step out, I'm going to play it for him outside their presence.
I'll step out for a minute.
For defense counsel, this is going to be from Rusty, the file that I think it says Rusty and has his interviews. This is going to be for Roy Barton 072418. I'm going to label it as Barton 1. And it is a recording. It's not that one.
Move the calendar forward, Megan. Yeah, it's fine.
It's 2 hours and 32 minutes and 4 seconds long. I'm going to cue it up at 1 hour, 31 minutes and 44 seconds. I'm going to start at 1 hour, 31 minutes and 13 seconds. So, Judge, I tender Barton 1 into evidence this time just as an exhibit. I'm not tendering into the case in front of the jury.
Right. All right, go ahead.
All right, sir, I'm going to play this. Let me know if you can hear it, okay?
Is that accurate,
Absolutely
sir?
not.
I want you to, could you maybe diagnose the first call that would be of interest to us, not the time or anything, about what
I
happened?
think there was only one conversation that is what you're looking for,
Okay,
okay?
okay,
And it was the last conversation.
okay.
And
It would be safe to say there wasn't much talking after that.
no, that was the end of the
Okay.
conversation.
Okay,
And is
so,
that the last time you've spoken with her? No,
No,
we
but I
just
talked to her, I talked to her I talk to her every day, but again, every day was just,
yeah,
every
So-
day.
So when let's talk about that conversation that you feel was.
Probably the last minute of the last conversation, she said, Gary is in the burn pile. No, she said, he is in the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, do not say another word and do not tell me anything. I do not need to know.
Okay.
And that is everything,
That
period.
you discussed with her.
Period.
She didn't say anything about.
Nothing before,
else?
nothing since. When I talked to her after that, it was, you know, it was just like it was portrayed to y'all. We're looking for Gary and.
Did she say? Okay, so there was we ain't gonna get the time.
I stopped it at 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 44 seconds. So having listened to your statement about the burn pile, can you tell me in your own words what you said?
I said, she said, he was in the burn pile.
Can you give me the whole couple of sentences that you said?
And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, don't tell me anymore. I don't need to know.
So you can't fully remember? You
No.
can't say it verbatim?
No, sir.
Was your memory at the time that you said it to law enforcement in July 24th, 2018, was your memory the best at that time when you said it?
No, sir.
I mean, was it better then than it is now?
No, sir.
Do you agree that what you heard you say, that was you saying it?
Yes, sir.
And that was inaccurate? What you said is what you said to law enforcement.
It is what I said.
Judge, I'm going to play this statement under past recollection.
What's the discrepancy from what
Hey,
you just
can't-
testified to?
Well, he can't say everything verbatim, and also it's a prior inconsistent statement that I'll be playing later on. When
What's
he flips.
inconsistent about
Well, no, when we get to
it?
his
He's going to get to something that he
right,
says.
then I'm going to
said
play
that-
it then. So I was just going to go ahead and play it now. I can wait to then.
I mean, I don't know what's inconsistent at the moment in what he's saying or why you need to introduce a statement, because he has essentially said that's what he told the cops.
Judge, there's two lines of thought here. Prior inconsistent statement under 24-6-6-13.
What's
That-
the inconsistency?
It's not there yet. The one is that
Well, then.
no, Judge. The inconsistency.
Is upcoming because he says it was a different conversation on a different day.
Sconiers v. State, S24A 0139, April 30th, 2024. The failure of a witness to remember making a statement, like the witness's flat denial of that statement, may provide the foundation.
He has not flatly denied making the statement. He
and I-
substantially adopted what was said in the conversation that you just played. So why is there a need to play it?
One, because when a witness says, I can't remember, that's a prior inconsistent statement.
You've
Two,
now confronted him with the statement, and he has adopted it.
right, and so he has to, when the jury comes out, he's going to have to be able to say the whole statement. He's not going to be able to do that.
What is inconsistent with what he just said on the stand just now from what he said in the recording?
Yes, I'm not owning the inconsistency, Your Honor. It's past recollection recording.
You have refreshed his memory. He knows what he said.
Right.
He just said what he said. You're saying there's 3 words different. What's the issue there?
One, precision. I think it matters that they hear the exact words. I think that's an important thing, Your Honor. I don't think a
Well,
word
you
off
can
here-
cross-examine him. Isn't it true that you said, and you can say it to him, and then he can say, yes, that's what I said, or no, that's not what I said.
You're just not going to let me. I'm just not going to be able to play it under this.
There's no reason to play it at this point.
Well, then I'll move on, Judge.
All right.
I'm ready.
Okay. Bring him back in.
Can we pull that down? Suppose.
isn't it true that these were your exact words?
I understand, Judge, and I will do that.
All right.
The court's ruled. I'll follow the ruling. Mr. Barton, on July 24th, 2018, while meeting with your attorney who was present, and Detective Hayes and Sergeant Pope, after they had to take a break to get you to give more information that you did not originally give, you told them that the defendant, probably the last minute of the last conversation, she said, Gary is in the burn pile. No. She said, he is in the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, do not say another word and do not tell me anything. I do not need to know. Those were your words to law enforcement in July the 24th of 2018. Is that true?
Yes.
And then afterwards, you said, that is everything, period, correct?
Yes.
And you also told law enforcement, did you not, that if I'm going to give an ounce, I'm going to give a pound, right?
I don't recall that, but
Would you dispute it?
no, I would not.
And you made it clear several times after telling them that she told you Gary was in the burn pile, that that's everything she said and that's what happened, correct?
Yes.
And at the time that she made the statement to you that you said she said, on July 4th, about 2 o'clock in the morning, Gary had not been reported missing yet. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Now, in July, when you gave this statement to law enforcement, you did mention something about taking some Advil PM or Tylenol PM. Do you remember saying that?
I do.
But you never said about being afraid or terrified that you couldn't, because you were so scared from what was going on that you couldn't say what happened. Isn't that true?
I don't know what you're at. I don't know what you're saying.
In July 2018, July 24th of 2018, when you told law
During this
enforcement,
conversation?
yes,
Yes.
you never mentioned I'm scared and I need to, that wasn't right what I just said. You never said I was scared, did you?
Not to law enforcement.
Right. You never told them you were scared, did you?
Not to law enforcement.
There's not going to be a recording of you saying I was scared and that's why I said what I said.
True.
And that night that you said about the defendant telling you that he's in the burn pile, you never came back and said, I need to recant that this night, did you? In July of 2018, you never came back and said, I need to recant that. That was wrong.
Not in July of 2018.
Correct. You didn't do that, did you?
I did not.
And you didn't do that, you actually didn't recant until your statement in June of 2019. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And in June 25th of 2019, I want to turn to that one. Melody was just arrested with you in her presence in the vehicle, right?
Correct.
The week before. The
Correct.
18th, I believe.
I don't know the date, but yes.
And after she was arrested, a couple of days later, you then get in contact with law enforcement and want to tell them something. Is that true?
I don't recall if we contacted them to get them to come back or if they just came back.
But you wanted to tell them, you wanted to recant the statement you gave about Gary
I did.
being on the burn pile.
I did.
So you got with them and you want to tell them that I want to recant this,
Correct.
retract it, right?
Yes.
And when you met with them in June the 25th of 2019, your attorney was with you, is that correct?
Yes.
And Sergeant Pope was there, is that correct? Detective Hayes and Sergeant Pope?
I'm going to say yes, but I couldn't. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Well,
I'm not 1,000% sure.
Was law enforcement from Cherokee County there?
They were.
And they came up to Tennessee to meet with you, right?
Yes.
And you were meeting at your attorney's office, correct?
Yes.
And you were there for the purpose because you wanted to tell them or clarify something, is that correct?
Again, I don't know if they came up to see me or if we requested them to come up. I do not recall who set the meeting.
So on this meeting in June of 2019, after the defendant's been arrested and you were with her and all that, what did you tell law enforcement that what was wrong with the first statement about being on the burn pile? How did you retract that? What did you say?
Well, I don't have the verbatim, and that seems to be important, but basically what I said was what I told you was correct, but when it happened was not correct.
So what you said is she did say those words to me, but it was
Yes.
just a different date?
Yes.
And so what date did you say that she told you that Gary was in the burn pile?
I don't know that I set a date. I just said that I had gone to Martha's house. Martha had told me, and then while I was there, Melody had called, and then she told me.
You remember saying it could have been July 9th?
I do not know what day it was.
Well, looking at the calendar on the floor there, July 2018, you talked to the the sheriff's office with the TBI on July 10th of 2018. You agree with that, right?
Yes.
And then you talked to him again on July 24th of 2018. You agree with that, correct?
Yes.
And on July 24th, 2018, you tell them, Melody told me Gary's in the burn pile. I don't want to know about it, don't want to talk about it, right?
Yes.
So you're saying that at some point you got the date wrong. Would it have been before the 24th?
Yes, it was before the 24th.
Was it closer to the 9th of July or a different date?
I don't think anything transpired on the 9th of July.
So tell us, what day did this conversation happen where the defendant said Gary's in the burn pile that you said is a different date from July 4th at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I do not know the date, but I do know that it happened after Detective Hayes and Sergeant Pope had been up, because after they left, I went to Martha's house, and that's when it was. So it would have been after that.
After the defendant was arrested, you had an opportunity to talk with her while she was in the jail, is that right?
I did.
And you were able to listen to some jail calls that I had to confirm that that was you on the jail calls, is that right?
That's right.
It was you talking, is that correct?
That's correct.
It was the defendant talking, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And they were fair and accurate recordings of your conversations with her while she had been arrested in this case. Is that right?
Yes,
Being here in Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, right?
I'm assuming so.
At the jail here in the county. And some of those times that she was in the jail, you talked to her about meeting and talking with Amanda and Chad. Is that correct?
Yes,
And you would actually check on Melody, ask her questions, or she would tell you stuff, and then you would go and talk to Amanda and Chad about things. Is that right?
I'm assuming yes.
And one of those meetings was on June 24th, 2019. Is that correct?
That was, you talking about a phone call?
Yes, phone call with the defendant.
Okay, there was a phone call most every day.
All right, so you agree that you had a conversation with her in jail on June 24th, 2019. Is that fair to say?
If you have it down, yes.
And June 24th of 2019, that's the day before you go and actually meet with law enforcement and, quote, recant your statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember the defendant telling you that you need to explain to Amanda about the chess match
Yes.
and ask you if you've been interviewed, and you say, I'm going to be tomorrow by our two favorites? Do you remember
Yes.
saying that? Mm-hmm. And that's because the next day you were going to go up and meet with them and Bobby, and that's when you recanted, correct?
I'm assuming yes.
Remember the defendant talking about, well, there has been a very well-played orchestra in this?
Yes.
And tell Amanda about Chris? She would tell you to tell Amanda about things about Chris and Scott?
I remember hearing that on the recording, but I don't know what that meant.
June 26, 2019, do you remember in a jail call there that the defendant told you need to stress to Amanda that she needs to find out whatever kind of trouble Chris is in and have that dealt with?
Yes.
And that you need to explain to Amanda that there is a well-played orchestra?
Yes.
And you need to explain the chess match to her?
Yes.
And that she was supposed to meet with somebody and be interviewed? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but who was somebody? Sir.
That she was supposed to be interviewed either by an attorney or somebody in the case.
Okay. I don't know.
Now, I had you listen to, in full, 2 of the phone calls. Do you remember that?
You had me listen to a bunch of phone calls.
Do you remember that in July 5th of 2019, the defendant had a preliminary hearing? That was the one that was on TV that you watched. You remember that?
Yes.
You did watch it on TV, right?
Part of it, yes.
And she wanted you to watch it. Is that correct?
Yes.
You listened to that July 5th, 2019 conversation that y'all had about the prelim. Was it a fair and accurate conversation that you had with the defendant?
Yes.
This time, Judge, I'm tendering to evidence calls 13. So July 5th, 2019 jail conversation.
No objection.
All right, submitted. Go ahead.
Remain on the line. Hold for acceptance. To remain on the line. Hold for acceptance. This is a prepaid call from an inmate at a correctional facility. Three-way or call waiting is not allowed and may automatically disconnect this call. This call is also subject to being recorded or monitored, except your call has been accepted. Hey.
But, hey,
You okay?
no.
Did you watch it?
Yes, watched it live.
Okay. Did you watch it with Bobby?
No, I didn't know it was going to be on until it was already going.
Okay.
And found it, but I sent it to him to watch.
Okay.
They didn't talk much. Bobby said they wouldn't have said that. They wasn't supposed to, because it was recanted. It was said under duress, and they wasn't supposed to use it.
Right.
But there's a whole lot they left out, but I had not seen it all.
Well, I had a minute, Michael and I talked back and forth during it, and he talked to Amanda afterwards. And, it's okay.
I know they're devastated because all of us are. How are you?
I'm okay. Oh, you do need to call Amanda, though. And
You sure?
explain. Do what?
You sure she'll talk to me?
Yeah. 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 Michael talked to her afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. And I talked to her.
What happened?
Do what?
You said explain. Explain to her what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Still a whole lot that don't make any kind of sense to me whatsoever.
Well, that's what Michael said.
I told them, I said, I've never been so afraid of anything in my entire life. But I didn't know my name. And Bobby said, that happens all the time. Well, it ain't supposed to happen to me. And I should have better control of my faculties.
Well, that's what trial's for.
Fear will do.
Do what?
So that's what fear will do.
Sure. So who watched it with you?
Nobody. I watched it by myself. I just pulled it up on the computer, and I turned it on just right before they started talking about it. That's just
Oh. So can you go back and watch the entire thing then?
I think so. I haven't tried to yet. It's on that WSB TV Facebook page, and I don't know if you're not on Facebook if you can get into it or not.
Right. We'll see if Bobby can get you into it.
Yeah. Said it was about 2 hours. I thought it was over with, and then realized they had taken a 10-minute recess.
Correct.
Yeah. So I thought it was over with. I didn't see nothing after the recess.
Oh, okay. So you really need to watch that.
Okay. Well, I just a few minutes ago sent it to Bobby to tell him where he could find it so he could watch it.
Right. Now, I was going to say, I wish you would do that and let him talk to you.
Okay.
Michael did say that he'd be talking to you.
Okay.
I wanted to know, and I said, definitely.
Well, yeah.
I love you.
I love you too, buddy. I'm sorry you're in this.
Yeah, me too. Apparently Chris and Scott were there. Emily was there. Emily looks horrible. See, I was told not to even look back that direction. So.
Well, and that's what they said on TV. She didn't even turn and look at her family. That's pretty.
Well, I was told not to keep my head down and do not look to the back.
Right. Don't look back and don't show any emotion.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. for calling.
Did you think I wouldn't?
I was afraid.
Pinocchio was singing loud today.
Yeah. Yeah. Still the chess game.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
But please call Amanda and explain to her, because she said she had some questions for you. That she was, she said she hadn't had to eat, because she hadn't slept, she hadn't whatever, and they had actually just left Michael just a few minutes ago talking to him. So.
Okay. Well. Yeah, we'd be glad to talk to her.
Bethany, she said, I just got some questions that I want answered,
Right.
Because I said, Amanda, just remember that, what this it is. And remember what they can do at this hearing.
Right.
But yeah, you need to go back and watch the entire thing.
Okay. I will do that.
And keep it. But yeah, definitely watch it with, him.
Yeah. Well, he told me that he had just settled a big court case that he thought was going to have him tied up all month. So he was going to be a lot more accessible. Wasn't really hoping that I needed him, but obviously we do.
Well, Michael told me, he said, no, I know it sounds bad. He said, but if you go back and watch it again, he explained to me what's not,
Right. Yeah. I just hope he's got the knowledge that, Manny said he had.
Have you checked on MJ lately?
I talked to her today after all this.
How is she?
She said, I think I'm going to need a pill. I said, yeah, me too. She said, well, come on over, I'll give you one.
I don't know how close that we are on time, but
8 minutes, 35 seconds from when it started ringing, I think.
okay.
I don't know how long you got.
15 minutes.
Okay, well, let's don't waste it. Holler back at me when you can.
Well, I mean, this phone call is 15 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm gonna try to talk to Bobby, give him time to find that thing and see if he can watch it. I'll find it again and see if I can watch it.
I would have never not called you.
Huh?
I would have never not called you.
Thank you.
So when did you recant?
2 weeks ago. I've been trying to ever since last year, and Bobby just said, well, you don't need to say nothing unless something happens, because if nothing happens, then it don't matter.
Right.
And I'd tell him all the time, Bobby, it's killing me that I said something wrong.
Well, even how they said it today in court, the second go-around wasn't right. Well, there was nothing to tell you, so...
I know, and that's what I said. I told him that 50 times.
Well, there still is no evidence.
No, I think everything they've got can easily be explained.
Well, and I don't know that they've got anything.
Well, that's true too.
Because there is nothing
Oh.
to have, because I didn't do anything.
Right.
Well,
Paul. Well, just remember that Michael knows how sick he was and what he was going through.
I do.
Yep,
I do know.
I know. I know, baby.
I know, and I'm not upset with you.
Thank you.
Just remember, this is all a, you know. But you do. You need to go back and really watch it, and all of it.
I will. I will.
I'll do my best to call you back tonight
Okay.
after you've watched it. See.
Yes. I'm gonna watch it.
I love you.
I love you. Be strong.
I will.
All right.
I promise. You too.
I'm telling myself that every day, ever since last year.
Breathe.
I'm trying.
I know you are. Hey, baby. I love you.
All right, Donna. I love you.
Oh,
Oh,
take a breath.
I am.
Okay.
Call me when you can.
I will. Talk to Amanda. Okay?
I will.
Okay.
This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
Okay. I love you. Bye.
This conversation with the defendant was after the preliminary hearing where they talked about the evidence in the case. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you had said that you had waited to tell law enforcement. Can you hear me?
That's better.
You said that you waited to tell law enforcement that you recanted or made a mistake or said something that wasn't true for several months. Is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't tell the defendant that you had said what she told you back in July 24th of 2018. You had not told the defendant that you told law enforcement about her saying he's in the burn pile.
No.
So what you wanted to do, is it not, you were trying to wait to see if any charges were taken out, so you didn't have to reveal to your lover that you actually told law enforcement. She did tell me on July 4th about 2 o'clock in the morning that he was in the burn pile. You just didn't want to have to tell her that, right?
No, that's not correct.
But you did wait until to see if she got arrested and until it came out in evidence that you actually were cooperating with law enforcement, right?
Under advisement of my attorney.
And then when you, in the prelim, when it came out that you did, when Detective Hayes testified that you told them back in July 2018 that she told you Gary's in the burn pile, when that information came out, this was the phone call afterwards. Is that correct?
Say that again.
In the preliminary hearing, when it was revealed that you did tell law enforcement that the defendant told you Gary's in the burn pile, this is the conversation that you had with the defendant after that came out in court, correct?
I would assume yes, because you've got the dates, so.
And in this conversation on the call that we just listened to, you were very concerned that she was going to be upset with you for what you told law enforcement about the burn pile, correct?
Correct.
You were concerned that she was going to stop talking to you, correct?
Correct.
And you were concerned that she was going to end the relationship with you, and you didn't want that to happen, right?
Right.
And then she tells you that Amanda is very concerned over this, right?
Yes.
Because Amanda got really upset because she did not know that you had told law enforcement that Gary, that the defendant, her mother, told you that Gary was in the burn pile. Is that right?
Right.
And so after this, you actually had to go talk to Amanda and Chad. Is that right?
They came to Tullahoma, if I'm not mistaken. They came to Tullahoma to get Melody's belongings, and that's when we had the conversation.
But you had to sit down with them and explain to them why you told law enforcement that the defendant told you that Gary was in the burn pile back in July 4th of 2018, right?
Yes.
And you're not disputing that you said those words in July 24, 2018. You said that the defendant told me Gary's in the burn pile.
Yes.
You said that, correct?
I did.
That happened in time. It's something you said.
It did.
But what you're telling the jury is that you were treated in such a manner that you were so scared, and that's why you said it back in July of 2018.
Yes.
That the way law enforcement was treating you, the context, the circumstances of that interview were such a degree that you lost the faculty to control what you were saying, right?
That's exactly right.
That it was, quote, duress, is what you said in this phone call, correct?
Yes.
But you will agree with me back in July the 24th of 2018, in that same conversation with law enforcement, you sat there with them for hours, right?
I don't know how long we were there, but
You can't remember how long you were there, right?
no.
You can't remember all the details, is that correct?
No.
But yet you can remember in June of 2019 saying, I misspoke. She said that some other date after the event. It wasn't on July 4th.
I remember that because Bobby Carter, my attorney, and I talked about it nonstop for however many months that was. So it wasn't a, miraculous thought. It was an ongoing conversation from day one.
So what we have is, you have one statement that you gave on July 24th of 2018 that the defendant admitted to you, a statement that she knew that she put that Gary was in the burn pile. We have that statement that you made, correct?
You do.
And then there's another statement almost a year later in June 25th of 2019, where you say, I recant that. She said that some other time, right?
That's correct.
But when you're talking to them in July of 2018, the 24th, when you're talking to them and saying Gary's in the burn pile, you're able to communicate with them and use complete sentences, right? You're talking freely, correct?
I was talking freely, yes.
Are you saying that you didn't have the ability to talk?
No, I had the ability to talk. You heard the words.
And you're saying that during this time, you agree with me at parts during this interview that you would actually, y'all would joke and have candy and were sharing candy on the 24th, right?
I'm guessing that was the same time. I don't know. Was that the strawberry one?
The watermelon?
Yeah,
And
watermelon.
that would have been after the statement about the burn pile, right?
I don't know. Was it?
You don't remember?
No, sir.
So you agree with me that the defendant was worried about you talking and saying things, right?
Yes.
And she did tell you to stop talking to law enforcement and not say anything.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
You listened to another phone call, call 16, that was on July 8th of 2019. It was a conversation between you and the defendant in my office. You remember that? The second conversation that you listened to today.
Yes.
And that was a fair and accurate recording of a conversation between you and the defendant.
Yes.
Just this time I tendered evidence, call 16. Call 16. It is only 5 minutes and 5 seconds, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please remain on the line. Hold for acceptance. This is a prepaid call from an inmate at a correctional facility. Three-way or call waiting is not allowed. Your call has been accepted.
Darling,
What are you doing?
just got through unloading the machine.
Wait.
You all right?
No.
What's wrong?
Well, you know, back a long time ago, I said stop talking.
Right.
I haven't done anything.
I know that, darling.
But somehow or the other, you know, what you keep talking about, you're going to single-handedly hang me.
I have not said anything other than the one time, and I have retracted that, and they failed to show that retraction. I haven't said anything else. Because there was nothing else to say. There wasn't even that to say.
Well, what about a phone?
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Just, I got another, you know, blast. So, just making sure that you understand.
I do, baby, but there's nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. So there's nothing wrong with us talking.
I understand that.
And there's nothing wrong with us talking because there's nothing to talk about. Because
Exactly.
There's nothing to talk about. Yeah. So
But I'm asking you to, if you get a visit,
I'm trying to get an appointment with Bobby.
thank you. Y'all need to get in touch with the people here.
Yes. Yeah, that was my goal. I wanted him to talk to your guy.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Got to get a handle on this.
You know, the press took the one statement that was made out of fear, and they didn't pick up on the retraction of it. So that obviously hasn't helped.
Well, Amanda is now really upset, so I'm related.
You know, I tried to call her, and she didn't answer, so I wondered what was up.
Did you ever talk to MJ?
I did.
Is she okay?
Yes.
Where was she yesterday?
I don't know. I just told her I'd come by, and she wasn't there. She said, well, she didn't know where she was. She'd been out of the room. So I tried to call her after you and I talked, and she didn't answer. And then she did finally call me back, and she said then she was in the bathroom. So I told her I'd been by, and she wasn't there.
All right. I get to go. Today's kind of an odd day, so please, if you get up with him.
Yes. I promise.
If you can get some things handled with
Yes.
my people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Paul,
I love you.
careful.
You too.
I love you.
I love you. I'm on Buzz Bobby right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Judge, I'm almost at a stopping point. That's maybe 5 more minutes, if that's all right.
All right.
Rusty, can you hear me?
Yes.
What I want to do is, there's a lot of stress in these matters, in these cases, is that right?
Yes.
So let me do this. Let me just add a little bit more light than heat. So let me take it down just a little bit. Did you hear on this phone call on July 8th of 2019, while the defendant's in jail, she said about a minute 15, I have not said anything other, right before that she says about a minute, roughly 7, but some type or other, let you keep talking about you're going to single-handedly hang me. Did you hear her say that?
Yes.
And then y'all started talking about that one conversation that you retracted, right?
Right.
And that one conversation was the one that you made in your attorney's office on July 24th of 2018, right?
Right.
Are you a reasonable person? You try to be reasonable.
I would think so.
You would agree with me, would you not, that when you made this statement in July about the defendant telling you Gary's in the burn pile, when you made that statement, you and your attorney, very good attorney, Mr. Carter, had huddled up just you two for about 30 minutes to discuss what you were going to say, right?
We went back into Bobby's office, and Bobby was trying to talk me off the ledge. I was flipping out. And he was not expecting me to say that when I came back in.
But you were with your attorney, right?
Yes,
And you were paying your attorney, correct?
I was.
And you had 30 minutes or more to sit there and discuss what you were about to go do, right?
That whole 30 minutes was not what I was about to do. It was what I was just I was so distraught that I wasn't even making sense. And he was trying to get me to calm down.
And you would agree with me that you then went back out knowing law enforcement was trying to get more information from you about what y'all talked about on the phone that night of the 4th, and then you said he's in the burn pile.
That's correct.
And you agree with me that the defendant in this jail call was very concerned with you talking, right?
Yes.
And the words she used were single-handedly hang me.
Yes.
That's not what an innocent person says, is it?
That I don't know. Who? What she said or what I said?
What she said.
Well, I guess if you were locked up and somebody had said something against you, you'd probably say that too.
Because if the jury believes what you said on July 24th, that she had knowledge that he was in the burn pile, she's guilty of murder, right? If it's true.
No comment on that one.
Because you don't want to comment, do you?
No.
Judge, if we could stop here today, I'll pick back up.
All right. Afternoon or
Recess for the day. All right, we'll, you got more questions for him in the morning, or you?
I may not, Judge.
All right, you're on
do
double.
have some legal arguments I'd like to take over the courthouse.
All right. All right, we'll start back at 9. Remember, tomorrow we're gonna break 11:40-ish. All right. Remember, don't look up anything. Don't Google anything. Don't read the newspaper, although I read what I think the newspaper article, if you get the free paper that gets mailed to you, it's just recanting what's happened in the courtroom, but let's don't look at it anyway. All right, y'all can be excused.